Jake Paul has made a big splash in the world of professional boxing over the last year or so, despite not even fighting a single professional boxer yet. And now it seems his next target is to conquer the world of promoting via his company MVP. And it has recently been revealed he has added an exciting young talent to his stable. Today, we are discussing Paul's signing of the next big star. Stay tuned. First up, what's Paul been up to recently? Let's see. Well, it might be a shorter list to document what he hasn't been up to, having knocked out former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley. In their fight last December, Paul has since taken a brief hiatus from the ring to focus on expanding his boxing promotion company called MVP, Most Valuable Promotions. And next up for MVP is the highly anticipated world title bout between two of the heaviest hitters in the world of women's boxing. Amanda Serrano will challenge Irishwoman Katie Taylor at the end of this month in what is set to be one of the biggest women's boxing fights of all time. Paul signed Serrano in September last year and promised her big riches, instantly delivering with the Taylor fight. Taylor will go into this one as the ever so slight favorite, but Paul will certainly believe that Serrano has the tools capable of dismantling the Olympian. Paul is currently waiting for a substantial offer to return to the boxing ring, but still refuses to fight anyone the same size as him. Michael Bisping, former UFC middleweight champion, has revealed that he knows for a fact that Paul has been offered the Ashton Sylve fight, but Sylve is a world-class boxer, so of course Paul isn't going to take that fight. So far, he has only fought people with limited boxing capabilities, as Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley are both known for their wrestling prowess. What have you made of Paul's boxing career so far? Next up, who is this next big star? Stay tuned to find out. Earlier this week, it was reported that Paul's MVP company had signed an exciting young talent by the name of Ashton Sylve. Paul, as well as business partner Nakisa Bidarian, sat down and told ESPN that Cali native Sylve, who is so far 7-0 in his fledgling pro career, checks a lot of boxes for their company. The super bantamweight fights at 126 pounds and has been training under the tutelage of his father, Ivan. At just 18 years old, the prospect is one of the younger fighters on MVP's books, but Paul and Bidarian have noticed his sizable potential. Paul's business partner claimed that he kind of checks a lot of boxes that you would want in terms of the next big star in boxing. And just spending time with him and his family, it was clear that there was a natural affinity to each other. And whilst Paul claims to want to push women's boxing forward, he also revealed that his other goal was to sign Serrano. After this goal was achieved, his next hope was to help young prospects in the sport, which is where Sylve comes in. Paul went on to talk about the young boxer, saying, "We believe Ashton has that talent, that flashiness, that style, that knockout power, that charisma to really be a massive superstar and one of the next highest paid boxers in the game in a very small and short amount of time." Have you seen Sylve in action yet? So, what else was said? Well, Sylve himself was speaking on the deal and spoke of the attractive amount of freedom Paul had included in the contract. He revealed that MVP has allowed him and his team to do their own thing up to a point, but are also there whenever he needs input or advice. He also claimed that after seeing what Jake has done in such a short amount of time within the sport, he was drawn to that. Whilst referencing a certain amount of synergy he had noticed with Jake, Ashton said, "I felt like we're gonna do big things." The marketing genius that he is, he and Nakisa, I've been watching them since he started boxing and seeing everything that's been growing up and waiting to become. I kind of felt the need to be there and be part of the team. Whilst we know Sylve's first outing under his new MVP contract will be May 21st in California, it has been suggested that, similar to Amanda Serrano, he could also feature on an upcoming Paul undercard. After Serrano's signing, she featured on Paul's Woodley undercard, so we can probably expect something similar with the young Sylve. The youngster turned pro at 16 and has so far honed his skills in Mexico, which is probably the single best country for a budding boxer to learn his trade. Are you looking forward to seeing the MVP stable when they're next out? So, when might we see Jake out again? Stay tuned. As we know, Jake is waiting until after the Serrano vs. Taylor fight to announce his own plans to return to the ring, but it is thought that once he has found a suitably smaller opponent, he will be back, possibly in August. Whilst Tommy Fury's name has again popped up after the pair were supposed to fight last December, it is thought Paul might go in a different direction, which suggests that Fury has missed his big payday. Fury would, of course, be the first bona fide boxer Paul has has come up against, so Paul probably wouldn't want that so early in his career. Ashton Sylve's name has also cropped up, but this would definitely be a step too far for Paul, as Anderson actually possesses world-class boxing skills, as well as being the same size as Paul. Sylve even beat former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. last year, before flatlining fellow former UFC fighter Tito Ortiz in the boxing ring. Recently, Paul has called out Michael Bisping, the former UFC middleweight champion, and while Bisping is a similar size to Paul, he has recently had 2 knee replacements and is blind in one eye, which again shows you the kind of fighters Paul has his eye on. The former YouTuber has recently claimed that he will, quote, be in boxing the rest of my life, so people gotta get used to me, unquote. And the sooner he comes across a legitimate boxer, the better. Who do you think he will take on next? More news of a potential Bisping showdown now. Stay with us. Of course, there are a ton of people who want to see Jake Paul knocked out after he continues to market himself as an actual boxer. And one man who isn't having any of it is Michael Bisping. The Count recently told Paul that there are a couple of things he will never achieve in the fight game: the respect of his fellow fighters and a world title, both of which Bisping possesses. But Paul is continuing to push for a fight with the English brawler. And in a recent turn of events, Bisping has claimed that he has found an athletic commission who are willing to sanction the fight. Of course, he has had trouble finding a governing body as he only has one eye, but this doesn't seem to have put the former world champ off fighting Paul. But Bisping, who holds an MMA record of 39, hasn't fought in almost 5 years, but his career was based off of excellent stand-up, with 18 of his 30 wins coming by way of knockout. Paul has piqued Bisping's interest last week by including him on his 6-man hit list, and Bisping has since claimed that, quote, the Sutina Combat Sports Commission have messaged me and said 100% that they would host that fight and they would commission me with one eye, unquote. So is it time for Jake to start worrying? Bisping's stand-up is better than anyone's he has faced so far. What do you guys think? And finally, another potential foe and his team have mocked Paul. Stick around. It has long been suggested that Jake Paul could be set to take on MMA star Conor McGregor, and whilst he might have a puncher's chance in the boxing ring, he would have absolutely no chance in an MMA octagon against the Notorious. And McGregor's training partner Dylan Moran has stoked the flames further by jokingly saying he doesn't want it from Paul. The pair had a brief beef back in 2019 following Moran's solitary loss back in 2019. The Irish welterweight is currently 16-1 and is considerably smaller than Paul, so of course Paul challenged him. Ultimately, nothing came of the feud, but could it potentially go down the line? Moran appeared to reignite the beef recently by mockingly claiming he doesn't fancy a fight with Paul anymore after seeing him hitting a bag recently. He also went on to tell him, Jake, I just watched your interview. You were one thick, ignorant fool. I don't even know what to say about you. He finished by telling Paul he would like to see Donald Trump back in power so he can build a wall to keep Americans in. What do you guys make of all this? As always, thanks for dropping by today, and remember to join us next time for some more fun and games. And why not do us a solid by liking and sharing today's video, whilst also subscribing to our channel in order to not miss our future content.